The orbital station shuddered as plasma rounds tore through the outer hull. Commander Jake Holland sprinted down the corridor, magnetic boots clanging against metal, while emergency lights painted everything blood red. Behind him, the Vraxian boarding party screeched their war cries, mandibles clicking in predatory rhythm. "Seal Bulkhead 7!" he shouted into his comm. "Negative, Commander," Lieutenant Amy Rogers replied, her voice tight. "The Queen is still in that section." Jake's blood turned to ice. Queen Valara, his wife of 3 weeks, the woman who'd ended a century of war with a single political marriage, the alien monarch who trusted him enough to visit Earth's frontier station without her royal guard. He skidded around a corner and nearly collided with her. She stood 7 feet tall, her chitinous plates gleaming silver blue under the alarm lights, her forearms clutching a datapad like it might shield her from the chaos. Her compound eyes widened when she saw him. "Jake, they breached the—" "I know." He grabbed her upper right hand. "Move, now." The first Vraxian raider appeared at the corridor's end, its exoskeleton bristling with weapons. It raised a particle rifle. Jake didn't hesitate. He yanked Valara behind a support beam and drew his sidearm in one fluid motion. 3 shots. The raider's thorax exploded in green ichor. "You killed it," Valara whispered, something like awe in her translated voice. "I'll kill all of them." Jake reloaded without looking, his hands working on pure muscle memory. "That's the deal, isn't it? You marry me for peace. I keep you breathing." 2 more raiders emerged. Jake fired while pulling Valara toward an access hatch. The narrow space forced the aliens to come single file. Tactical advantage. He'd trained for this his entire life. "How many?" Valara asked. "At least 20 breached." He kicked open the hatch. "They want to decapitate the peace treaty. Kill you, blame us, restart the war. Then we've failed." "Not yet." He dropped through the hatch first, landing in a maintenance shaft. Valara followed with surprising grace despite her size. Above them, the raiders' clicking grew louder. Jake's comm crackled. "Commander, they're cutting through to the reactor level." "Let them," he said. "Evacuate all personnel to the escape pods." Authorization Holland Alpha 9. "Sir, that leaves you and the Queen." "I said evacuate." Valara touched his shoulder with one slender alien hand. "You're planning something foolish." Jake checked his ammunition. 32 rounds left. He smiled without humor. "Foolish is their mistake. They think humans negotiate because we're weak." He started moving through the shaft, deeper into the station's guts. "They're about to learn why Earth needed a marriage treaty to stop fighting." The station shook again, closer this time. The Vrakians were spreading through the levels like a virus. Jake's smile widened into something dangerous. "Let them come." Jake led Valara through a maze of maintenance tunnels, each turn calculated, each step purposeful. The station's blueprints existed in his mind like a 3-dimensional map. He'd memorized every vent, every access point, every structural weakness during his first week aboard. "Where are we going?" Valara's voice held steady despite the chaos above them. "Good." She had spine. "Armory subsection 3. The one that doesn't appear on official schematics." Her compound eyes somehow conveyed surprise. "You have hidden weapons?" "We have everything hidden." Jake stopped at a sealed door marked with radiation warnings. He punched a 16-digit code into the panel. "Peace treaties are signed by diplomats. They're maintained by people like me who plan for when diplomats fail." The door hissed open. Inside, racks of human military hardware lined the walls. Rifles, grenades, combat armor, enough firepower to wage a small war. Jake moved with practiced efficiency, pulling on tactical gear while Valera watched. "Your people told mine this station was a civilian research outpost," she said quietly. "It is, with a very well-equipped security division." He locked armor plates over his chest and arms. "Your people insisted on minimal military presence for the marriage ceremony. We agreed. We didn't say anything about what we'd already stored here." Above them, an explosion rocked the tunnel. Dust rained from the ceiling. Jake's comm erupted with static-filled screaming before going dead. The Vraxians had found the evacuation pods. Valara's breathing quickened, a whistling sound through her respiratory spiracles. "They're killing the crew." "No." Jake loaded a magazine into an assault rifle. "Amy got them out before the raiders reached that sector." "That's staged audio. The Varaxians are broadcasting it to draw us out, make us panic." "How do you know?" "Because it's what I'd do." He handed her a kinetic pistol. "You know how to use this?" She stared at the weapon like it might bite her. "I am a queen. I've never held a gun. You're about to learn." He positioned her hands correctly on the grip. "Safety off." Point, squeeze. The recoil is minimal for someone your size. Don't aim for center mass on Vaxians. Their vital organs are here and here. He indicated points on her own torso, thorax junction and lower abdomen cluster. "You've studied our anatomy for warfare. I've studied everything for warfare." Jake shouldered a pack loaded with ammunition and explosives. "Your species might have peace now, but the Vrakians sure don't. They've wanted your empire's resources for decades. This marriage threatened their expansion plans." Valara's mandibles clicked in what he'd learned was her species' equivalent of a bitter laugh. "So they kill me and blame humanity. The alliance shatters. We return to fighting each other while they pick apart the winner." "Smart plan." Jake checked his rifle's charge. "One problem." "What's that?" "They assumed killing you would be easy." He led her back into the tunnels, moving toward the reactor level. The Vraxians would converge there eventually. They always went for critical systems, textbook raider tactics, predictable. "Jake." Valara grabbed his arm with two hands. "There are at least 20 of them. You're one human with perfect knowledge of this station's layout, enough explosives to redecorate, and absolutely no intention of letting my wife die 3 weeks into our marriage." He pulled a detonator from his pack. The evacuation was step 1. Step 2 is turning this station into the worst tactical decision those raiders ever made. They reached a junction point where 5 corridors met. Jake planted charges on each entrance, daisy-chained to a central trigger. Valara watched him work with growing understanding. "You're collapsing the tunnels, channeling them. There's only going to be one path to the reactor, and it leads through a kill zone I've been planning since the day this station went operational." He finished the last connection and stood. "Every military installs failsafes. The question is whether you're willing to use them." A screech echoed through the tunnels. "Close." Too close. Jake activated the detonator and grabbed Valara's hand. "Run." They sprinted as explosions bloomed behind them, corridors collapsing in sequence, forcing the Vraxian pack into exactly the path Jake wanted. He could hear them pursuing, their rage filling the confined space with alien shrieks. Valara kept pace despite her size. "What happens when we reach the reactor?" Jake's grin was all teeth and violence. "They find out why humans don't lose." The reactor chamber was a cathedral of humming energy, 3 stories tall with catwalks crisscrossing overhead. Jake burst through the entrance with Valara beside him and immediately moved to the control terminal. His fingers danced across the interface while his eyes scanned the elevated positions. "Upper catwalk, northeast corner," he said, pointing. "Crouch behind that power junction. Don't move unless I tell you." Valara hesitated. "What are you doing?" Reactor output is controlled by magnetic containment fields. If I destabilize the harmonics just enough, the safety systems trigger an electromagnetic pulse. He entered a cascade of commands. Vraxian armor and weapons use piezoelectric power cells. The EMP will fry them. And your equipment? Shielded. He slapped the terminal. Earth learned that lesson the hard way during the Ganymede incident. Now go. She climbed to the catwalk while Jake positioned himself behind a coolant tank near the main entrance. He set his rifle to burst mode and pulled 4 plasma grenades from his pack, arranging them within easy reach. The Vraxians would come hard and fast once they breached the door. His comm crackled with Amy's voice. Commander, escape pods are clear. We're at minimum safe distance. Good. When this goes loud, broadcast on all frequencies. Tell both our fleets what's happening here. Already done. The cavalry is coming, but they're 40 minutes out. Then I need to buy 40 minutes. Jake chambered around, howled out. The reactor door exploded inward. 4 Vrakians poured through, their carapaces covered in combat plating, weapons humming with deadly charge. Jake didn't give them time to scan the room. He opened fire. The first raider's head disintegrated. The second took 3 rounds to the thorax and collapsed. The remaining 2 scattered, diving behind equipment as return fire scorched the air above Jake's position. He rolled left, came up firing, and dropped a grenade into the doorway as 5 more Vraxians tried to enter. The explosion turned the entrance into a bottleneck of twisted metal and burning chitin. Alien screams filled the chamber. Jake used the chaos to reposition, climbing a maintenance ladder to the second-level catwalk. From there he had overlapping fields of fire across the entire floor. 2 Vraixians spotted him and raised their rifles. Jake was faster, double tap to each thorax. They fell like puppets with cut strings. 11 down, he muttered. 9 to go. The remaining raiders adapted quickly. They stopped bunching up, used the reactor's machinery for cover, and began coordinating their advance. Professional soldiers, not just raiders. Someone had trained them well. A particle beam seared past Jake's head, so close he felt his hair singe. He dropped flat as another beam carved through the railing where he'd stood. 3 Vraxians were flanking from the western approach, while 2 more laid suppressing fire. Textbook tactics. Jake smiled. He'd written that textbook. He pulled a small device from his belt and activated it. Across the chamber, a dozen sensor pods he'd planted during his first month aboard began emitting thermal signatures identical to a human body. The Vraxians immediately shifted their fire toward the false targets. Jake used the distraction to move, ghost quiet across the catwalk to a position directly above the western flankers. He leaned over the railing and fired straight down. Both raiders died before they knew death was coming. 14 down. A roar of fury echoed through the chamber. The remaining 6 Vrakians abandoned stealth and charged, firing wildly, their discipline breaking under the realization that they were being systematically slaughtered by a single human. Jake had counted on that too. Rage made soldiers sloppy. He triggered the reactor harmonics. The destabilization was instant. Electromagnetic pulses rippled through the chamber in visible waves of distorted air. Every Vraxian weapon died simultaneously, their armor servos locking up, their combat systems going dark. For 3 seconds they stood frozen in confusion. Jake spent those seconds reloading. Then he stepped into the open and went to work. No cover, no tactics, just pure, efficient execution. 6 shots. 6 dead raiders. Their bodies hit the deck in a rough circle around his position. Silence fell across the reactor chamber, broken only by the hum of machinery and the drip of alien blood from the catwalks. Valara emerged from her hiding spot, moving slowly down the stairs. She stepped carefully around the bodies, her compound eyes taking in the carnage. When she reached Jake, she stared at him like she'd never seen him before. "You killed 20 trained soldiers," she whispered. "Alone." Jake ejected his magazine and loaded a fresh one. 19. "You shot one earlier, remember? I fired blindly into a corridor. I don't even know if I hit anything." "You did. Thorax shot, clean kill." He holstered his rifle and checked his armor for damage. "Minor scoring, nothing serious." "Not bad for your first firefight." She was quiet for a long moment. "Is this why your species agreed to the marriage treaty? Because you knew you could win the war?" "No." Jake met her alien gaze. "We agreed because we were tired of winning. There's a difference between being able to fight and wanting to. But you're so good at it. That's exactly why we wanted it to stop." The aftermath settled like dust. Jake moved through the reactor chamber, checking bodies, securing weapons, ensuring no Vraxian played dead. Valara followed 2 steps behind, silent except for the soft clicking of her respiratory spiracles. "You do this often," she said. "Not a question. Define often." Jake kicked a rifle away from a twitching raider and put a final round through its skull. "I've been in combat since I was 18. That was 12 years ago. Math gets depressing after that. 30 years old, and you move like death itself. 32 next month." He crouched beside the last body and pulled a data chip from its armor. "And I move like someone who wants to see 33. Valara's mandibles twitched. "What is that?" "Mission recorder. Every Vraxian Special Operations unit carries them. Means this wasn't random piracy." He pocketed the chip. This was sanctioned. Probably by their military council. An act of war. An act of stupid. Jake stood and surveyed the carnage. "They just gave us everything we need to unite the galaxy against them. Your empire, Earth's coalition, even the neutral systems will condemn this." The comm system crackled to life. Amy's voice came through, strained but professional. "Commander, fleet sensors are picking up multiple Raxian signatures converging on your position. Looks like a cleanup crew." Jake checked his ammunition. 2 magazines left. Not enough. "How many ships?" 3 destroyers. "They'll be in firing range in 8 minutes. Valara's skin plates shifted color, darkening to deep blue. Fear response. "We can't survive a destroyer barrage." "No." Jake walked to the reactor controls. "But we can make sure they don't either." He began entering commands, his fingers moving with absolute certainty. Valara moved closer, reading the display over his shoulder. "You're overloading the containment fields," she breathed. "That will cause a reactor breach. A controlled one. The blast will be directional, channeled through the station's upper pylons." He continued typing. "When those destroyers get close enough for a kill shot, they'll be inside the detonation radius. You'll destroy the station. Already destroyed. Look around." Jake gestured at the bodies, the scorched walls, the shattered equipment. "This place is done. Question is whether we go down alone or take the bastards with us. And us, how do we survive?" Jake pointed to a sealed hatch on the chamber's far wall. "Emergency escape craft. Reinforced hull, independent oxygen, enough fuel to reach the rescue fleet. It's rated for 2 people, rated for 2 humans. I'm significantly larger. Then we'll be cozy." He finished the sequence and locked it behind a biometric seal. 30-minute countdown starts when I authenticate. That gives us 20 minutes to reach the craft and 8 minutes to clear the blast zone. Valara placed all 4 hands on the console, leaning close to him. "You planned this. From the beginning you had an escape route." "I always have an escape route." Jake met her eyes. but I've never needed to use one before. Congratulations, Your Majesty. You're the first person I've cared enough about to actually run." Something shifted in her alien expression. "The marriage was political. You agreed for your government, I agreed for my empire." "Yeah, so why fight this hard to save me?" Jake was quiet for 3 seconds. Then he pressed his thumb to the biometric scanner. The countdown initialized, red numbers materializing on every screen in the chamber, because somewhere between the ceremony and now, political became personal. He grabbed her lower left hand, and "I don't leave people behind. Ever. Now move." They ran. The station groaned around them, its structure already compromised by the earlier fighting. Jake navigated by pure instinct, hauling Valara through passages she could barely fit through, over debris that would have stopped anyone less determined. 5 minutes gone. The escape craft was 3 levels down and half a kilometer away. They hit a collapsed section where fire had melted the corridor into an impassable wall. Jake didn't slow. He fired his rifle into the ceiling, blasting through to an auxiliary shaft, then boosted Valara up before pulling himself after her. 12 minutes gone. Still 2 levels to go. "Jake." Valara's breathing was labored. "Leave me. You can make it alone." "Not happening. I'm slowing you down." "Then slow is how we do this." He pulled her into a working elevator shaft and hit the emergency descent. 20 years in the service taught me one thing. Mission success means everyone comes home. No exceptions. The elevator plummeted. Jake counted seconds in his head, calculating distance versus time. It would be close, painfully close. 18 minutes gone. The elevator doors opened onto the escape craft hangar. The small vessel sat in its dock like a silver seed pod, barely large enough for its intended purpose. Jake ran the pre-flight checklist while Valara squeezed herself into the passenger compartment, folding her limbs in ways that looked anatomically improbable. 23 minutes gone. "We're not going to make it," she said. Jake sealed the hatch and fired the engines. "Watch me." The craft shot from the station like a bullet from a gun, acceleration slamming them both against their seats. Behind them, the station grew smaller, its lights flickering as the reactor entered critical cascade. 29 minutes. 30. The station became a sun. The explosion turned night into day. Jake kept the throttle maxed, racing ahead of the expanding shockwave that chased them like the hand of an angry god. The craft's hull shrieked as superheated plasma licked at their shields. "Brace!" Jake shouted. The shockwave hit. The craft tumbled end over end, alarms screaming, systems failing in cascading sequence. Jake fought the controls with everything he had, muscles straining against forces that wanted to tear them apart. Valara's alien scream harmonized with the shrieking metal. Then they were through. The craft stabilized. Behind them, 3 Vraxian destroyers hung in space like broken toys, their hulls cracked open by the station's death throes, debris scattered across 1,000 kilometers. Glittering in the light of distant stars. Jake cut the engines to minimal burn and slumped in his seat. Every muscle ached. His hands shook from adrenaline crash. He was pretty sure he'd cracked at least 2 ribs during the escape. "Status?" Valera's voice was weak. "Alive." "You?" "Also alive." Surprised about it. Jake laughed. It hurt. "Yeah, me too." The comm system chose that moment to activate. Amy's voice came through, thick with relief. "Holy hell, Commander! Please tell me that's you in the escape craft." "It's me. Queen Valara is secure. Station is gone. So are the 3 Vraxian destroyers that came to finish the job." We saw. Every ship in the sector saw. The galaxy just watched you take down 3 capital ships with a reactor overload. Amy paused. Sir, you've got 47 news drones requesting interviews, and the Vraxian ambassador is screaming about war crimes. War crimes! Jake's laugh was darker this time. They sent assassins after a head of state during a diplomatic visit, and I'm the war criminal. That's what I told them. Well, not in those exact words. There may have been profanity. Velara shifted in her seat, her compound eyes fixed on the viewport. Lieutenant Rogers, this is Queen Velara. What is the status of the treaty? Your Majesty, Amy's tone shifted to formal. Your Empire's fleet just entered the system. They're demanding answers. Earth's coalition is backing your version of events, but the Vrakians are claiming the commander went rogue and murdered their civilian inspection team. Civilian. Jake pulled the data chip from his pocket. Amy, I'm transmitting something. Vraxian mission recorder from one of the raiders. Run it through intelligence. 30 seconds of silence. Then Amy whistled low. This is gold. Operational orders, command authorization, even payment schedules. This proves the Vraxian government sanctioned the assassination. Send it to every news outlet, every embassy, every government database you can access. Jake watched the rescue fleet approaching, dozens of ships from a dozen worlds. Make sure the whole galaxy knows what happened here. Already done. Commander, you just started a diplomatic firestorm. Good. Let it burn. The comm switched channels. A new voice came through, deep and resonant, speaking Velara's native language through the translator. My queen, this is Admiral Thronic. Are you injured? Velara straightened despite her cramped position. I am unharmed, Admiral. Commander Holland ensured my safety. The human fought well. The human fought like our ancient war gods. 20 Vraxian special forces died by his hand. Then he destroyed 3 of their destroyers to protect me during our escape. Her voice carried an edge Jake had never heard before. Steel wrapped in silk. The treaty stands, Admiral, and anyone who threatens it will learn what humanity is truly capable of. Silence on the line. Then Thronic spoke again, his tone colored with something that might have been respect. Understood, my queen. We await your return. The channel closed. Velara turned to Jake, her alien features unreadable. You realize what you've done. Saved your life. Exposed a conspiracy, maybe prevented a war. You've also proven that humans are the most dangerous species in known space. She gestured at the debris field. 1 man, 1 station, 23 enemy casualties, including 3 capital ships. The galaxy has never seen anything like this. Jake shrugged. We tried being peaceful. Didn't work out. Because the Vraxians mistook peace for weakness. Everyone does. That's the problem with being good at violence. People forget you chose to stop, not that you couldn't continue. A rescue shuttle from Velara's fleet approached, its running lights cutting through the darkness. Jake prepared the docking sequence while Velara watched him with those compound eyes that saw in spectrums he couldn't imagine. The marriage was political, she said again. You mentioned that. I agreed because my advisors said it would prevent bloodshed, create stability, unite our peoples against common threats. Smart advisors. They didn't tell me I'd be marrying someone who fights like legends made flesh. She reached out with one slender hand and touched his cheek. The gesture was surprisingly gentle for someone with an exoskeleton. They didn't tell me I'd find someone worth fighting for. Jake met her gaze. Feelings mutual, Your Majesty. Velara. Just Velara when we're alone. Then just Jake. The shuttle docked with a metallic clang. Through the viewport, Jake could see the assembled fleet. Hundreds of ships representing dozens of worlds, all waiting to see what came next.